Hey up Chuggernuts, how are we doing? And welcome back to another episode of SeddzSayz. We are back today with the final installment in our 2020 recap series, in which we are going to be discussing my top 10 albums of 2020. Now this is actually technically part of a two-part series. Yesterday I discussed number 20 through to number 11 in my top albums of the year, and I decided to kind of split it up into two videos so I could discuss each one in a bit of detail rather than just kind of plowing through them all and just rhyming and listing them off for you guys. So like I said, if you've not watched that video already, stop this one, give it a quick pause and head over and check that one out first. You don't want any spoilers, and trust me when I say this, it will be really cool to work your way down to the number one position that we're going to be discussing later in this video. Like I said in the video yesterday, this is all personal opinion. I check out a hell of a lot of music on a daily basis, but I'm 100% sure that there are albums that I missed in 2020. So if you feel like something made it to the list that shouldn't have been there, or I missed off something on my list that you think I would have really enjoyed, put it down in the comments below. I check absolutely every suggestion out that people comment in my videos because I love checking out music. So if you've got a suggestion for me, an album or even an EP or a live stream to check out, comment it down below and I will certainly go and check it out after this video has aired. Right then, without further ado, let's just jump straight on in there. We've got a lot to discuss, a hell of a lot to discuss to be honest, because these are some absolutely jaw-dropping albums. So here we go, this is the top 10 albums of 2020. Enjoy guys. So kicking things off at number 10, we have booze-fueled Buccaneers Alestorm with their 6th studio album, Curse of the Crystal Coconut. Now, Alestorm will always have a place in my heart, as they were actually the first ever metal band that I got to interview when I was 13 years old. And you know what, if I can find a picture of me with the band, I'll throw it over here so you go and all have a little laugh at that. Anyway, I just love a band who doesn't take themselves too seriously, and that is what Alestorm does best. To put it simply, throughout the entire 44-minute running time of Curse of the Crystal Coconut, this album's never going to fail to keep you entertained. I mean, whether you're listening to the infectious chant-along chorus of like Fanny Bores, or just the downright bonkers Wooden Leg Part 2, the Wooden In. I mean, Chris Bowers and his crew prove in each and every track why they are the masters of catchy, fun, party-fueled anthems. And in fact, you know what? Some of the highlights on this record are some of the more unconventional tracks, let's say. I mean, songs like Tortuga add a flair of, what's the best way to describe this? Like 90s stoner hip-hop in there. Whereas like songs like the 1 minute 15 epic that is shitboat no fans is just a football hooligan's wet dream. I mean, to summarise really, Curse of the Crystal Coconut is the perfect antidote for the 2020 and 2021 blues. If you're feeling down, simply crank the likes of Pirate Metal Drinking Crew up to 11 and I can promise you all your troubles will just go away. Get a copy of it, it is absolutely incredible. Now, if you watch this channel regularly, you will know that Marilyn Manson is my all-time favourite artist. So it's no surprise, really, that the God of Fuck's 11th studio album, We Are Chaos, is in at the number 9 position. Now, in my eyes, Marilyn Manson can do no wrong. And whilst a lot of people in the industry have kind of hated on his latter efforts, such as Heaven Upside Down, Born Villain, and The High End of Low, I still really enjoyed his material from about 2007 onwards. That being said, We Are Chaos is easily Manson's best effort since Golden Age of Grotesque. It's, you know what, it's so far from what we've come to expect from him in the recent years, but you can hear, you can clearly hear elements such as the Beatles, Flaming Lips, Pink Floyd, Bowie, in this album, and you know what, that makes it one of his most experimental and somewhat progressive records to date. And you know what, as much as I yearn for another Antichrist Superstar or Hollywood, from the first time I heard the title track We Are Chaos from this album, I was just absolutely blown away by just how much of a spectacle it actually was. I mean, from the huge, sweeping, Broadway show-esque chorus to the lavish production quality on this record, Manson really had ticked every single box. It shows off his more mature yet melodic side that hasn't quite pushed through in recent albums, but I really digged it. But you know what? Don't let melodic fool you for 1 second at all. In typical Manson fashion, this record is dark as fuck in points, especially if you listen to tracks such as Broken Needle, Don't Chase the Dead, and the very beautifully melancholic Halfway and One Step Forward. I mean, hopefully this is a new chapter for Marilyn Manson, and if so, I cannot wait to hear more material like this in the near future. Like I previously stated in my top 5 live streams and live albums of 2020 video, I never used to be the biggest fan of Code Orange, and kind of whilst their run-of-the-mill hardcore never really gelled well with me on their previous albums, their latest album, Underneath, is quite the opposite. I mean, I am absolutely hooked on this record big time, and that is why it seizes the number 8 position today. I mean, this record is just experimental at its finest. It's experimental as fuck, man. I mean, they take elements from industrial metal and new metal and electronic music in order to manufacture this just monstrous sound that can only really be described as nightmare fueled. It's one of those records that the more you listen to it, the more elements and sections start to, you start to notice them. I mean, songs such as Cold Metal Place and Erasure Scam, there's so much going on in those tracks, to the point where you need at least 4 or 5 listens in order to pick out each individual intricate detail that Code Orange have kind of sewn in there. And you know what? Whilst some may find this record somewhat volatile and abrasive, I welcome that from Code Orange. I really do. It's weird as fuck, and it makes for one hell of a listening experience. Plus, tracks on the more melodic side, and I say melodic very loosely, tracks such as Who I Am and Sulphur Surrounding, they had a nice little breather before the carnage kicks in again. I mean, definitely get started with the lead single from this album, which was called Swallowing the Rabbit Hole, and work your way from there to tracks such as In Fear and Last One's Left. I mean, I can guarantee that just after one listen, you'll have one listen of Underneath, and your world will be turned absolutely upside down. A perfect record from start to finish. Taking the number 7 position in our top 20 albums of 2020, we have Bristol-based 4-piece Svalbard with their latest album, When I Die Will I Get Better. Now, like Palm Reader, who we mentioned in our previous video, Svalbard are not only signed to Church Road Records as well, but I also stumbled across this band by listening to the Riot Act podcast. Now, whilst I was hella impressed with their previous efforts, which were called One Day This Will End and It's Hard to Have Hope, which I checked out as soon as I finished listening to that podcast, this new record has really defined Svalbard's sound and got the masses talking about them. And I mean, you can hear influences in there from the likes of Touche Amore, Oathbreaker, Devil Sold His Soul. But what has become very clear is that Svalbard have easily surpassed their peers with this release. I mean, tracks like Open Wound and Throw Your Heart Away are some of the finest post-hardcore masterpieces to be released in the past 5 to 10 years. And you know what? I think it's so hard to balance the atmospheric with the heavy and make each section just flow seamlessly into the next. But Svalbard clearly have no issue with this at all. And I think this is in part down to Serena Cherry's very powerful yet diverse vocal style. I mean, her screams are just soul-wrenching, and her cleans are somewhat vulnerable sounding in points, and it adds those kind of crucial dynamics that make this such a hard-hitting and emotive listen. I mean, we talk about albums being listening experiences rather than just a collection of songs. This is exactly what Svalbard have done with When I Die Will I Get Better. It's a work of art that you just need to listen to from start to finish in order to appreciate how flawless it actually is. Go and pick up a copy, guys, because it is probably one of my most played records of last year. Now, I will be the first to admit that usually I am not the biggest fan of instrumental bands, artists and projects, but the reason why The Cataclysm by Coldbones is in at the number 6 position today is that it is one of the most captivating albums that I have ever heard. And you know what, I'm not just talking about albums from 2020, no. I'm talking albums of all time. I mean, this 10-track masterpiece clocks in at around the 45-minute mark, and it has everything you would want and more from a band that combine elements of progressive rock, shoegaze and atmospheric soundscapes. I mean, on the one hand, songs like Collapse show off colossal riffs and just shimmering samples that cut superbly through the mix. Whereas stripped-back moments such as Ascend and Ruin put you in this dream-like state that can only be described as blissful and euphoric. I mean, similar to what I said about Svalbard just a minute ago, they are clearly masters when it comes to dynamics, and they've carefully crafted these tracks in order to create some of the most epic and awe-inspiring moments in alt music this year. I mean, opening track The Flooding of the World and the rather bleak sounding finale Extinct are perfect examples of this. And you know what, I am surprised Coldbones are not bigger. I really am. I think 2021 is going to be their year, and I reckon they're going to be huge. If you enjoy this record, you need to also check out the set they did at the Heavy Music Awards earlier this year, because it is just incredible to hear such a massive sound coming from a 3-piece act. It is just, yeah, absolutely jaw-dropping. I mean, they are easily my favourite discovery since I started this channel back in February last year, and I cannot wait to hear what kind of god-tier level album/EP they drop on us next. I really can't. Check them out. Right, we are now into our top 5 albums of the year. So let's take this time to discuss City Burials by the, I said that really weird, City Burials by the band Katatonia. Now this is the 11th studio album from the Swedish progressive/atmospheric metal band, and in all honesty, I'm just going to start this review by saying this is my favourite Catatonia release to date. And you know what, for a band that turns 30 this year, that is a huge statement indeed. Just in all honesty, to be honest, I'm just glad that we got a Catatonia album in 2020, considering that they announced their immediate hiatus back in 2018. I mean, anyway, City Burials is masterfully crafted from start to finish. It gives each and every track on there its own individual time to shine, and every song adds something new into the mix while still having that very uniformed, dark and heart-rending signature sound that we've come to know and love from Catatonia over the years. It's visceral, it's brooding, and in certain sections it's quite menacing. It is just absolutely amazing to listen to. It's one of those albums that I like to kick back, relax to, close my eyes and just drift off to, and you'll see exactly what I mean if you go and check this out. I mean, we have to mention the overall production of this record. It's just perfect. It really is. I mean, every intricate little detail is beautifully placed in the mix, and it's as if you were listening to like an opera or a theatrical performance from the comfort of your very own home. I mean, standout tracks for me personally have to be more of the slower moments on this album. Songs such as Vanishers, Lacquer, Lachesis, that just kind of fall, that song itself just falls short of the 2-minute mark, but it is phenomenal. And it's these moments, these stripped back moments on the album that prove that Catatonia can write some absolutely sensational tracks using only Jonas Renk's voice and some rather dysphoric soundscapes. It is, like we said about the Svalbard CD and the Coldbones CD, it is a listening experience that you just need to check out for yourself and just sit there, close your eyes and just enjoy from start to finish. Here we are at number 4 with Reluctant Hero by alt metal supergroup Killer Be Killed. Now, I think the best place to start off with this particular project is to talk a bit about them if you've never heard of them before. I mean, it's made up of Greg Puciato from the Dillinger Escape Plan, Max Cavalera from Soulfly and Sepultura, Troy Masters from Mastodon, and Ben Collar, who drums for the band Converge. Now, whilst I am not the biggest fan of all of those bands individually, I am a fucking huge fan of Killer Be Killed. Now, Reluctant Hero is the band's second release to date, and it's literally perfect. It literally is. Not only do you get the best bits from all the bands I mentioned previously there, but you can also hear elements from bands such as Deftones, Alice in Chains, Machine Head, Gojira. It really is an A to Z of alternative music, which weirdly enough simultaneously sounds modern and fresh as fuck, but also really, really old school as well. And I mean, all three vocalists deliver insanely good, and I mean insanely good, vocal performances on this record. And whilst on paper, you really seems like it shouldn't work, those three particular voices, but when you listen to tracks such as Dream Gone Bad and Inner Calm from Outer Storms, this will be proved otherwise, because their vocal styles just gel so well together. But I tell you what I love most about Reluctant Hero, I'll tell you what I love most, is that it is chocked full of absolutely killer guitar riffs. And I mean riffs for days, man. From the groovy and somewhat like doomy guitar lines on From a Crowded Wound, to the full frontal all assault that is Comfort from Nothing. There are enough insane hooks on this record to keep a guitarist hard for months. I mean, there is a reason why this album made it into a lot of industry professionals' top lists of the year. And if you didn't get round to checking it out last year, I would seriously make this your #1 priority going into 2021. Pulling out the big guns now, eh? In at number 3, with their 4th studio album, In Dreams, is UK-based alt-rock band Esoterica. Now, if you watched my reaction video to their breathtaking single, Humanity, back in February last year, I actually think it was one of the first ever videos I reacted to on this channel, you'll know that I first stumbled across Esoterica when they played with Synagogue, who I now manage, back at either the Retro Bar or Grand Central in Manchester. In all honesty, I can't remember which of those shows came first. Now, it's been 8 years since we last had an Esoterica record in the form of Nothing Left to Lose, but oh my god, what a comeback record this is. In all honesty, it is the band's magnum opus, so to speak. It has got me hella excited for the future of Esoterica going into 2021. And I mean, whilst lead single from this album, Gone, kind of threw a lot of fans off the scent with its groovy riffs and punchy choruses and slick guitar solos, the rest of In Dreams is far more stripped back in comparison, going for more of a Perfect Circle-esque kind of approach with the other 9 tracks on there. I mean, after each and every song finishes, I mean, especially songs such as In Dreams and Hunted, you're going to be left just sat there going, fucking hell, Tobias Keith just delivered his best vocal performance in that track. And then by the time you get to the grandiose finale that is The Still, you are just going to be left speechless by what you just heard. And I mean, let's not also forget the covers of True Faith by New Order and You're Not Alone by Olive, which also features some really, really cool guest vocals from Eloise Kerry on there too. Both of these tracks, to put it simply, blow the originals out of the water, and they kind of act as that cherry on top of the cake that is In Dreams. I mean, if you like what you hear on this record, then go and see them on tour later this year. That tour has been pushed back a few times now due to COVID-19, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we will finally get that Esoterica album launch tour in 2021. Every single track on this record deserves to be in Esoterica's live set. And I'll tell you something, when they ultimately decide which of them make the cut, they are going to certainly move you to tears in a concert setting. phenomenal, just absolutely incredible record that everyone who is into let's say melodic, progressive, atmospheric rock needs to add to their collection. Like I've said throughout this entire 2020 recap series, this year I have proper just dove headfirst into all things melodic, atmospheric and evocative, really. I mean, so it's no surprise at all that in at the number 2 position is the Birthday Massacre with Diamonds. From its alluring synth lines to vocalist Chibi's sweet yet slightly sinister vocal hooks, Diamonds transports the listener into a neon-like cinemascape world, not too dissimilar from cult classics like Donnie Darko, The Lost Boys and Blade Runner. I mean, you know what? I'd go as far as to say that this record could have actually been used as the music for Stranger Things. It's an album you can dance to, it's an album you can vibe to, and you know what? It's an album that you can cry to. I myself have been in tears listening to this. It just packs so much raw emotion into its 38-minute running time. And if you are one of those people that does want a bit of kind of rockiness and heaviness to seep through, then tracks such as the Marilyn Manson inspired Mirrors and the monumental album closer that is Parallel World certainly have you covered there. Now, every track on Diamonds is flawless, and it was so hard picking my personal favourites from this particular record. But if you are new to the band and you want a good starting point, definitely check out track 2, which is The Sky Will Turn, track 3, which is Diamonds, and track number 5, which is Flashback. I could bet my life right now that once you've listened to these 3 tracks alone, you will leave just craving for more Birthday Massacre. Now, for the best part of 6 months, because this album came out at the very end of March, this album actually held the number 1 top spot in my albums of 2020. So I wonder what record it was that actually knocked it from that perch. If you want to find out, stick around. Here we are, Chuggernuts. SeddzSayz number 1 album of 2020 goes to a band that we have covered multiple times on this channel over the past 12 months. And in such a short space of time, they have become one of my favourite bands, one of the most talked about bands in the music industry, and they have put out the best debut record that I've heard from an alternative artist in a long, long time. In at number 1, we have the band Tallah, as you can see on my shirt here, with Metriphagy. Oh my god, where to start with this album? I mean, well, first things first, this is a concept album that touches on subjects such as kidnap, imprisonment, murder, cannibalism, and lots of other just weird and fucked up shit. And that should really give you an idea of what Tallah are all about. But do you know what? This not only just comes across in their lyrics, it also comes across in the music as well. It's frantic and unpredictable thanks to the striking drum parts of Max Portnoy and the psychological use of like samples and turntables from Musin just layers further derangement into the mix. And then on top of that foundation you have just the most disgustingly heavy guitar and bass tones that make for some of the just some of the most earth-shaking breakdowns and drops of 2020. I mean, Derek Schneider and Andrew Cooper like absolutely shine on tracks such as No One Should Read This and Placenta, making the music as dirty and depraved as the lyrical concept itself. I mean, let's not forget about frontman Justin Bonnet, who has absolutely cemented himself as one of the most diverse, talented, and you know what, just downright wacky modern metal vocalists out there. I mean, listen to his vocal performances in tracks such as Overconfidence and Too Quick to Grieve. It's gnarly as fuck. It's volatile. It's aggressive. It is just anxiety-fueled music at its finest. It's a listening experience that makes you just absolutely sick to the core and just really epitomizes that descent into madness that we all secretly fear. I mean, step back, Slipknot on Korn, because Tallah Tallah are coming for your throne, boys. If you are intrigued by this, which I am pretty sure you will be, you need to go and check this out. It's on all streaming services. You can pick up a copy from the band, pick up a copy from Ear 8 Records. You need to go and check out this album because there is a reason why it is here in our #1 position in our top 20 albums of 2020. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this video. Another year has passed. Another top 20 list of the year has been drawn up, and I really hope you enjoyed this video and the one that came yesterday. Now we're just going to do a quick recap discussing those top 10 albums that we discussed in this video, and like I said, go and check out every single one of them. These are my personal favourite releases of the year, and they just had such a huge impact on me. So in at number 10 we had Alestorm with Curse of the Crystal Coconut. Number 9 was Marilyn Manson with We Are Chaos. Number 8, Code Orange with Underneath. Number 7 went to Svalbard with When I Die Will I Get Better. Number 6 was Coldbones with The Cataclysm. Number 5, Catatonia with City Burials. 4 was Killer Be Killed with Reluctant Hero. And then at number 3, Esoterica with In Dreams. And number 2 was the Birthday Massacre with Diamonds. And taking that number 1 spot in our top 20 albums of 2020 was the magnificent Tallah with Metriphagy. 10 wicked albums there to keep you busy, and like I said, we got another video that came yesterday that had another 10 albums in there as well for you to check out. So yeah, go and check out all of those releases. I will link all of the band's social media down below so you can check them out for yourselves. And if you did enjoy this episode of SeddzSayz, please do hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with everything SeddzSayz related. We will be back tomorrow, back on the reaction videos, so keep your eyes peeled for several reaction videos coming this week. And we are also approaching our year anniversary in a few weeks time, so we're going to be doing some really cool stuff in the run up to that, so make sure you're checking out all of our social media for more information on these special videos. We will see you guys tomorrow with another video, but in the meantime, have a good evening, stay safe and keep on chugging.